Hey guys, welcome to the start of my book club. I'm really excited about it. I'm really happy to have you here. If you see me looking down, I've got some notes on my computer about things I want to talk about with you. And let's just jump right into it, shall we? So today is going to be a book review on a recent book that I just finished called The Lucky List. And it's by Rachael Lippincott. In the beginning of this video, it'll just be non-spoilers, and then I'll let you guys know when we're gonna hop right into those spoilers because I want to get into this book. So the genre of this book is like YA fiction and then YA adventure fiction. So some themes of this book are grieving over a lost mother, like returning to yourself and your truth, remembering who you are type stuff, living in a small town and trying to see if that's for you or not. There are some parts about exploring your sexuality and deciding what you want rather than just taking other people's opinions of what you should want. So we follow Emily. She is going into her senior year, but it's set in the summer just before her senior year. Now, at the end of junior year, at their prom, Emily made a really bad mistake and did something that kind of blew up her whole relationship. And this is taking a toll on like her high school friendships. Emily is really dealing with the grief of losing her mom, she passed away 3 years ago from cancer. The tipping point for Emily is when she finds out that her dad is planning to sell her childhood home. So she has to battle with trying to get rid of all of her mother's stuff that she still has, like for example in her closet. And she feels like she's like leaving her mother behind. As for my rating, I really tried hard to find something that I didn't like about either the writing or the plot, or something that just didn't like feel right, and I couldn't come up with anything. But as for now, it is definitely a 5-star book for me. Kind of reminded me how important it is to find purpose in your days and really explore those things that you're thinking about but are a little too scared to go out and try, and just pushing yourself so that you don't have any regrets in life. I'd like to read you one little quote. "I think regretting is the worst part, Em," she whispered, her weak fingers squeezing mine. "Wishing you could have done more, wishing you could have done all the things you wanted to do." And that's kind of the overarching theme of the whole book, is don't put yourself in the situation where you're going to regret not doing something. See where it takes you, and if it doesn't get you where you want it to, that's okay. At least you know that you tried. Okay, that's going to be it for the non-spoilery section. Bye, non-spoilery people, and let's get into the nitty-gritty.
Take me down to the waterside.
Okay, so the first thing I want to get into is how relevant this book was for me. So personally, I've just graduated high school not even a year ago, as the class of 2021, and I was really starting to feel stagnant with the lack of structure and routines in my life. And this book just really reminded me of how fun and exciting it is to go out and do things that scare you, and how fulfilling that can be. You see someone else go through the growing pains and how much better they are through it, and at the end, and you're just like, yeah, I want to go through that struggle too because I know how much it's worth. Also, going in, I didn't really expect a queer relationship to be showing up in the main characters, but boy oh boy was I pleasantly surprised. Like from the beginning, when Emily and Blake first had their little interaction onwards, until I was like, oh dang, this is actually where the book is going. I was like highlighting every little scene that gave off gay energy. I was like, oh, so cute. This book just had me so giddy when they were exploring things together and getting close and just thriving in their friendship, really. And then a complete turn on its head. I was like sobbing for the last half of the book when Emily was like so insistent, understandably, about how she has to be in a heterosexual relationship with Matt because that's what's gonna fix the world. It's like, no, honey, you need to be happy. That's what's gonna fix the world. And also the guilt behind her feeling like she needed to be with Matt because she felt like that's what was gonna make her mom proud. Like, it's hard enough when your parents are around you and feeling like you need to make them proud by being in a straight relationship. The whole time I was rooting for Emily to just have the guts and put herself out there and just give it a shot and be honest with herself. But like, I also understood and had come to accept the fact that she might end up with Matt at the end of the book, and I couldn't be mad at her for that. The way the story was written was so beautiful and made you fall in love with the characters to the point where when the characters' hearts are breaking, yours are breaking along with them, and it's just so full of emotion. Very, very high highs, very, very low lows. Pretty much from the end of the first chapter, you're hooked. Bingo. That's when you start to get a taste of the chemistry between Blake and Emily, and their friendship is just so fun, pushing each other to be better versions of themselves and open up and be vulnerable and be honest with themselves. It's just amazing.
All my plans today.
Okay, now I'm going to try and describe some things that I didn't like. There wasn't anything structural that I didn't like. These are more like things that made my blood boil. So the part that got me most riled up was when Kira was like insisting that Emily should get back with Matt without really taking a second to step back and be like, hey, you're my friend, like, what do you want in this situation? She had everybody's success of a senior year, like that pressure on her shoulders. It just made me feel like Kira cared more to have a drama-free senior year than to actually ask Emily how she was feeling about the situation. Even if she was bi, maybe her sexuality is not even a part of it. Forcing someone into a relationship and really, really pushing it, it just doesn't sit right with me. But again, I wouldn't want to change that part of the story because it was great at tapping into your emotions and just giving you that flip side of, after being way up here, pulling you down here. Another thing I didn't really like, but I do understand the reality, is how fake the friend group seemed. It's like, since you guys are together all the time at school and there aren't really many other options in town for friends, then you feel like you just are by default a friend group. I understand that if someone cheated in the friend group, you wouldn't want to associate with them anymore. That's understandable. But the fact that, like, during the bonfire, when people were getting subtle hints that Matt and Emily were back together, that they just accepted that and were like, oh yeah, Emily's our friend now, yay. I was like, I would not trust them. But also, like, what other friends is she supposed to have other than Blake? Because Blake's an OG, we gotta keep her in there. Okay, now I want to move to some standout scenes. I think the pool scene where they go skinny dipping is really where you can sense a shift in the story. Even the characters can sense it. Like, Matt notices there's something different about Emily. Like, she doesn't seem as closed off as she was. And Blake and Emily can definitely start to feel the tensions rising, for sure. Emily is definitely getting those cues that, like, hey, you're gay. It's really cute for her to start experiencing those feelings that she probably never felt with Matt or any other guy, and being like, these are a lot of emotions. Whoa, what is this? And that's really when the storyline starts picking up pace and they start doing more items on the list, and it's just, that's really when like the adventure kicks in. Then there's a scene where Blake mentions on their little picnic that before, when she was in a relationship, she found that she was really changing herself to a whole new person, one that wasn't really her, just so she could fit in the relationship. That's something I try to be very mindful, and I think a lot of people have to do this when we're in a relationship, because it's so easy to want to be liked by that person. So to try and accomplish that, the easiest way is to kind of morph yourself into who you think they want you to be. That's really a disservice to everybody in the relationship. But also, like, that whole picnic scene was so cute, so wholesome. I loved it. Looking for little 4-leaf clovers. Blake had brought some food that Emily had never tried and put in so much effort. It was very, very, very cute. And then there's when they go surfing outside of their little small Huckabee town. And I just want to read another quote from the book. The feeling that I get when I read this quote is what comes up anytime I think of this scene, and I've thought of it multiple times since. Because I see now it isn't just about being daring, skinny dipping, and jumping off cliffs. It's also about being afraid and sad and uncertain in all the parts of myself, even if they're the parts my friends don't want to see. It's about being real and honest, like I am in this exact moment. Everything else fades away until there's this moment of calm and clarity, just me and Blake and the water around us. I really love like this serenity that encapsulates, of just accepting the negative parts and the positive parts of you. Oh, and then this is the turning point from having my blood boiling to, yes, Emily, get it, stand up for yourself, you got it, girl. So this is when Emily finally stands up to Kira about how forceful she is about Emily getting back with Matt. Do I? I whisper back, angry. Or do you want me to? Just so you can have a perfect senior year? Bet it's a real shame you can't just spend the whole year at Misty Oasis with Todd and all your drama-free friends. Something that I really love is Kira's approach to this. She's like, oh, I just actually did think that you wanted to get back with Matt, but you're right. But also, like, hey girl, you gotta speak to me. I can't read your mind. You have to stand up instead of being so avoidant this whole time. Like, we didn't have to go through all this. Kira kind of, she understands what she did wrong, but she doesn't take 100% of the blame, because it's true, Emily is part of the problem too. So those were some standout scenes. I would love to know what your favorite scenes of the book were. If you want to, feel free to subscribe. I will be posting videos, either reading vlogs, which I'm really excited to do, taking you along my reading journey, and I will be posting more book reviews. And if you have any recommendations for me to read, let me know in the comments below. I'll see you again for another book club meeting. Bye guys!
I hope you stay, 'cause I'm in love with the salt on your skin. Where you been, my love? I'm in love with the salt on your skin. With the salt, I'm in love with the salt on your skin. Where you been, my love? I'm in love with the salt.